Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the morning market prep video for June 20th, 2024. Well, hope everyone had a nice holiday. Kind of weird having a day off in the middle of the week, but let's see what happened to Asian markets overnight and European markets and see if we can figure out how this market is shaping up for the day. Well, first off, Asian markets were mostly lower last night. We had the Nikkei and South Korea was higher, while Asian markets, Hong Kong and Shanghai were all a little bit lower. Part of that had to do with China keeping its 5-year prime loan unchanged, and they're saying New Zealand has exited their technical recession, growing at a 2% quarter on quarter in the first 3 months of this year. So a little bit of jockeying around going on there. And let's take a look. We have European markets green across the board here this morning, looking pretty strong. Swiss National Bank cut its rates. And then we had also Norway's central bank held its rate flat, and we've got the Bank of England with a pending rate decision this morning. So far, decidedly bullish there in Europe this morning. Dow is also taking a little bit of a bullish lean. We've got NVIDIA gapping higher once again this morning. Dow is looking up. S&P and NASDAQ futures are very strong here this morning with that NASDAQ gap. NASDAQ right now is taking of all of the major techs, it is, I think on Tuesday, it was about 3 times more volume flowing into NVIDIA than any other stock in the market. So any other of the big techs, it's vastly bigger than anything else in the market. If we take a look at what we have going on in oil just a little tiny bit higher here this morning, up 3 cents at 81.60 a barrel. Brent up 19 cents at 85.22 a barrel. And natural gas at the moment is looking just ever so slightly lower, down about 4 cents this morning. If we take a look at precious metals, we're getting a little bit of a rebound here in precious metals. We've got gold moving just a little bit higher today, up $4.60 an ounce this morning. We've got silver up 75 cents, trying to move high. Whoops. This was supposed to go to gold. There you go. And this is supposed to go to silver. There we go. So bouncing higher here this morning. We've even got copper trying to move up here this morning. This is Freeport, but copper trying to stretch out a little bit this morning. Platinum is up, and palladium is gapping higher this morning as well. One of the reasons that might be the case, if we take a look at the dollar, a dollar is also showing just a little bit of strengthening here today, but there is a weird little thing going on because we're actually seeing things like TLT pulling back, while at the same time we're seeing our bonds move higher. Very weird price action that we're seeing here in the market. If we take a look at cryptos are rebounding here today with Bitcoin right now up $979 a coin. Quite a mix in the cryptos here this morning, however. I think mostly bullish overall, though. If we take a look at those bonds, we are seeing those bonds edge a little bit higher. The 2-year is at 4.74. The 10s are at 4.25, and the 30s are at 4.38. Probably some fluctuation in those currencies with those rate changes having an impact here. We'll want to keep an eye on that, though. If they continue to creep back up, remembering that we have some economic data here today, that certainly could move the market. So, what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in? Let's buckle up. Let's get ready for the Thursday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Hey, I want to give you a heads up that today will be the last video of this week. I will be traveling tomorrow to help my son move this weekend. So there will not be a video for tomorrow. I apologize about that. I hope you guys understand. I'm going to be leaving very, very early in the morning to make it there and get a lot of work done over the weekend. So please forgive me for that. And I will be back on Monday. Let's take a look at these charts and see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we approach the market for today. And remember, we want to shake off that bias, and let's look at the chart what it is, not for what we want it to be. If we take a look at the diamonds here, as you can see, we've had a nice little bounce here the last 3 trading days, moving back up off of this trend line, and that is a bullish potential move. Now the question is, can we break this downtrend here in a significant way and start showing that those bulls are willing to push on out, break some resistance levels here in the chart? So if the bulls can break up through this downtrend here in the chart, then what we're going to be looking for is to see if they can retest this resistance up here. Now you'll notice we've rejected this area before. We'll need some kind of energy to push us up through here and get us back on the positive side here in the diamonds and escape this downtrend. So watch that carefully. If we can push through that level, I would say then the bulls would need to push up into here and make that move to continue to move on higher. Let's keep a close eye on that today. We're trying to break this downtrend. If the bears were to find inspiration here today, well then you want to make note that this could possibly be the next lower high in this downtrend. And then the question would be, as we push back, would we be able to hold some of these areas of price support in the chart as they push us back down? And if we were to break down below this trend, that's where things get to be a little bit nutty here, because we would officially break into a bit of a downtrend on the Dow. So watch carefully if we start to see some of those issues and problems. And what we have certainly seen is such a very thin leadership to the upside here in the markets. It would, we can keep a handful of stocks moving up and apparently keep the indexes moving higher. But what we have seen so much of is that the majority of the market is not participating in that move. And we'll take a look at some of those things here in just a moment. If we take a look at our SPY, SPY, very, very bullish. There's nothing in here that suggests bearishness. It's all bulls all the time, continuing to stretch as we continue to push, that handful of big tech stocks higher and higher and higher. There seems to be no price people are unwilling to pay for some of these techs, but I do worry at this point in time that we are becoming so stretched out here that if they do stumble, a lot of folks could be hurt in the chase and the fear of missing out here in the market. But that being said, looking at this chart, there's no reason to believe we can't go higher, and you can see we're opening at a new record high here in the SPY as we see NVIDIA pushing and gapping higher here this morning. So if the bulls can continue that, blue sky above, of anything is possible. If the bears were to find some inspiration here today and we push back, well, this morning it looks like we're going to create a little bit of a gap. So we would try to maybe pull back and fill that gap. We can see if we can start coming down progressively through these levels here in the chart. But it's going to take an awful lot of pullback to raise any major fear here in the SPY. Same thing is true in the QQQ. There's just nothing in this chart that suggests bears are anywhere near this, and we continue to stretch and gap in these morning opens, pushing to the upside. Now I would say QQQ is becoming very parabolic and very extended, and extended on just a very small leadership in the market. But that being said, every reason to believe blue skies can continue to be stretched here to the upside, as there is a willing chase going on in those tech giants. If we see any bearish pullback, you'll notice we've got some support right in here on that gap, and then we'll start looking through some of these areas here for that pullback. But we've got a lot of pulling back to do before we even come close to threatening this trend in the chart. So bulls are definitely in control in that tech sector. Now here again, if we look at IWM, not so much. IWM feeling just that bearish pressure here in the market. Although we have rallied back up and we're testing this resistance in the chart, we still have yet to find a way to break through that. We possibly could do that today. And if we do break through that resistance up here, look for some of this congestion area right in here for the next area of resistance. Pushing through there, then I'm going to suggest we come up into this resistance area of the chart. And then of course beyond that point, we'll be dealing with this downtrend that we have created here in the Russell. Dow and IWM are definitely showing considerable weakness, while SPY and QQQ and those tech giants continue to enjoy lots of attention and continue to stretch to the upside. So kind of a mix of data here, but very, very positive in the tech sector. If we take a look at our VIX, now our VIX continues to show us no fear here in the market. As you can see, we are continuing in this downtrend. There is this ever so slight little uptrend, but with the bullishness this morning, we may even test this and break this down. Now, I will tell you, when we start breaking down below these areas, we're starting to run into substantial complacency in the market, and that's where I start to get really nervous about that big reversal that could occur. Not saying it will, that it could occur, so watch that carefully. But right now, markets have no fear as long as we can keep those tech giants moving higher. If we take a look at T21, let's go to T21. 22, our 4-week new high, new low ratio. You can see we had a nice little rebound off of this low area here in the market. This is that bullish reversal zone. It's pretty common that when we test these areas, we get a relief rally, and that's what we've got going on right now. At least in the diamonds and IWM, it's a relief rally. Everything else seems to be just a continued extension. But unfortunately, the big tech giants are really kind of masking what is happening in the SPY and the QQQ. Majority of stocks are flat to lower, and we can see that in some of these numbers. Remember, this is a 4-week new high, new low ratio. So as we get this impression that we're zooming to the upside, you can see the leadership of the market is very thin. And as of Tuesday, well, we still hadn't been able to break through that 50% area here in the chart, and even showing that little bit of a hook here in that chart, showing that possibility that a pullback may come. Now with the bullishness this morning, I think there is a chance we could push right on through here, maybe breaking this downtrend and continuing that stretch to the upside. If we take a look at our T2108 as of Tuesday, Tuesday's close? Well, we moved up a little tiny bit here in the chart, but you'll notice that we haven't broken through some of these resistance areas. We haven't broken through a downtrend, and we still only have about 34-35% of the stocks holding above their 40-day moving average. Not exactly a picture of strength in the market, but perhaps maybe there's something today that could change that and start to improve that picture. T2108, 07 percentage of stocks above the 200-day. You can see barely made a rise on Friday as we made new record highs in the SPY and the QQQ. So this is really showing us that the majority of stocks are still struggling an awful lot. And if it weren't for big techs, we'd probably be looking at a very different market at the moment. So keep an eye on that. We've got some resistance here in the chart. We've got some downtrend here in the chart. We held just below the 50% area here. So about half the stocks are moving up, half the stocks, well, not moving up, half the stocks are above their 200, half the stocks are below. Once again, not the very strong picture of the market that we're getting in the SPY and the QQQ. And last but not least, T2101, the breadth of the market as we made new record highs, declined again on Tuesday, showing that weakness in activity because it's all being centralized into just a handful of stocks. So watch that carefully here on T2101. We're continuing to see that weak breadth as we continue to rise. That does make me concerned. Maybe today we get something in here where we spike that back up a little bit and actually put some directional energy into the market, but we do have to remember that we're sliding into that blackout period, and more companies are ending up in that blackout period where they can no longer do corporate buybacks, and that's a pretty normal area to see absolute breadth pulling back in the market as we really are leading into that next round of earnings, and everyone's thinking about that. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar, our economic calendar here for today. First, if you missed it, yesterday we had mortgage applications come in, and they came in positive, but a pretty sharp weakening here in mortgage applications. Refinance actually went negative on the day, despite the fact that we've had rates being lowered here. And remember, we've seen quite a little bit of data here about the weakening consumer. Even the number in here on retail sales showing that the consumer is overall pretty weak. Consumer confidence was weak. So we'll want to keep that in mind as we continue to stretch this market higher, that there may be a problem here with the consumer. You see housing market index came in on Wednesday, and it actually declined to 43. So a little bit of weakness showing up there. This morning we're going to be getting housing market our housing starts and permits. Right now, the consensus is suggesting those numbers are going to move higher here this morning. But with the current data that we've been seeing, that could come in as a miss. So watch that closely here today. And then after that, we're going to get that kind of problematic jobless claims where people going onto the unemployment line tends to be good news for the market because of interest rates. So watch that carefully here, how this number comes in. Right now they're suggesting in consensus that pulls back, not as hot as it was last time on layoffs, that it could come in just a little bit weaker at 235. So watch that closely today. Certainly market moving, we'll want to pay attention to it. Philly Fed manufacturing will then come out. We're looking for that to increase to 5.2 from 4.5. Still horribly weak here on a manufacturing, but we don't seem to care about that as long as tech is going up. Current account will be coming out as well. We're expecting a $205.5 billion deficit on current accounts. again, nobody cares about debt. And boy, do we have a lot of that going around. But we just ignore it and keep buying big tech. If we take a look, we've got Kashkari that will be speaking this morning. We've got Atlanta business inflation expectations that will be at 10. We've got a natural gas report. We've got some bond auctions. We're going to have Barkin speaking at the end of the day, and then we've got a Fed balance sheet, and daily will be overnight. Then looking into Friday, remember we've got a quadruple witching here. We've got a lot of options coming into expiration. Look for some volatility around that. We've got a PMI composite flash, existing home sales, leading indicators, and a natural gas report, along with the Baker Hughes rig count here today. So keep an eye on those things. We'll want to be watching those on Friday. And remember, I'm not going to be around on Friday, so that's one of the reasons I'm covering that today. Let's take a look at our earnings calendar here for today, and we do have several earnings today. One of our bigger days here recently. We're going to be hearing from this morning. We've got ACN reporting. Nice little gap up going on here. ACN this morning. We've got CMC that will be reporting this morning. We've got Darden will be reporting today. A little bit of back and forth going on there in Darden this morning. We're going to hear from GMS. We're going to hear from JBL. We've got Kroger reporting this morning. And we've got the Bago. Old Winnebago will be reporting this morning. So a bigger list this morning than we've had for a while. And this afternoon, the only notable that I have is Smith & Wesson. They'll be reporting here this afternoon. So keep an eye on that. Let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But before we do that, everyone, if you guys could do me this quick favor, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could please click that subscribe button on YouTube, and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, click that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much to everyone who takes the time to do that. I truly appreciate it. You guys are awesome. Thank you very, very much. As the channel continues to grow, just shows that wonderful support from folks out there for something that I was just not sure anyone would be too interested in without a whole bunch of hype or prediction along the way. Just a real look at the price action of charts. So let's take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today. But remember, everyone, these are not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Make sure you do your own due diligence, that you're very, very careful in this market, realizing that there is the potential for quite a lot of volatility. And if you're not in those tech giants, then we're seeing a lot of non-performance in a lot of stocks. So be kind of careful and don't overtrade this market. Well, first off, let's take a look at what is happening here in our US dollar. UUP trying to move just a little bit higher this morning with those bond yields. So remember, that can have negative effects on anything in that commodity sector. Be paying close attention to that. And that being said, let's take a look at energy. Energy has been trying to rally up here and push up off of this downtrend, lower side of that downtrend channel, trying to push up. And right now, there's every reason to believe that that could continue to come back up to try and test the upside of that trend. But there is nothing about this chart that is bullish. And as a matter of fact, if we take a look at some of these stocks, ExxonMobil, clearly in a short, we broke down here in the chart, we rallied, back up here to our 50-day moving average. This is one of my favorite shorting patterns. It's a failure at the 50. Rallied back up here. We continue to make lower highs and lower lows here in the market. Now, one might say that this extension down to the 200 might be getting close to the end of this slide to the downside, but be really careful. Seeing a lot of weakness in these stocks on the energy side of the market, and any rally back may set up the opportunity for a short. Let's take a look at the financial sector. Finances have been rallying here the last 2 or 3 days, pushing back to the upside with a pretty strong push. Unfortunately, guys, there is a lot of concern here in this sector. Remember, we still have this downtrend in here that we need to be watching and thinking of. And remember, anytime we make this push, this crossover up, we have to be watching that carefully, because we need to see, after we push like this, we need to see proof that we can hold. Then that follow through, that's what resumes an upside trend, because we can push up like this and then just absolutely reverse that back down and tear the heart out of the trader that chases that move to the upside. So be careful here, but we are starting to see some of these stocks such as Goldman Sachs coming back strongly, testing those downtrends in the chart. JP Morgan pushing up to test those downtrends in the chart. Now, BAC continues to be one of the strongest of the main, the big banks, and you can see that possibility that BAC may actually break out to new record highs here. So a little bit of mix in here, but certainly worth keeping an eye on. And then if we take a look at KRE, KRE has also been rallying back. This is our regional banks, and we know there's major problems in these regional banks. We're ignoring it at the moment, but those regional banks will want to watch that carefully. And again, this is one of those patterns where that failure under the 50 is very, very important to be paying attention to. And now we're trying to rally back up and recapture the 200, and I've seen that failure here also occur many times before. So watch carefully as we continue in this overall downtrend in those regional banks, and watch for those potentials that we could at any point in time hear about failures in this area because of the commercial real estate problem that we have. Now, if we take a look at some of those big techs out there, take a look at what's going on in NVIDIA, and this is dominating the market. NVIDIA gapping up, stretching higher here this morning, looking quite bullish. If you're looking for something in that sector, take a look at Qualcomm. Qualcomm also making that nice bullish move out here. I think you've actually missed the entry point. It was right in here for that move to the upside. But Qualcomm continuing to stretch on higher. Micron has been unbelievable and just really parabolic in this run here lately to the upside. Watch carefully for that. Now, if you take a look at something like Oracle, it gave a nice little entry opportunity on that 2-day pullback, now stretching up. Remember, Oracle had a terrible earnings report, but they talked about AI and some partnerships with AI. So, hey, let's hurry up and buy that. And really stretching Oracle here to the upside. So any rest or pullback in there would set up an opportunity. Take a look at Google. Now, Google has been resting in this consolidating pattern here, resting out toward this trend. Now, I can't tell you if it's going to, here, let me move my lines here just a tiny little bit. I can't tell you if it's going to be this trend that really kicks us into gear and pushes on higher, or if we're going to have to come back here to this longer upside trend. But I would keep an eye on this. If you got an interest in Google, look for that pop that can pop through here, and we can extend up in Google. Microsoft, let's say pretty much the same thing here. This rest on Tuesday, any kind of consolidation or rest in what we're seeing in these big tech giants, then look for that next opportunity really fast for more stretch to the upside in those charts. So keep a close eye on those. Take a look at GE. GE had a little bit of trouble here. As a matter of fact, I was thinking this was about ready to come into a short and then surged back up here toward its downtrend. We'll want to watch this carefully here. If this can break out and hold, then maybe we're going to resume the upside trend. But if we were to catch a failure in there, that could be a bit of a problem here for GE. Watch that one carefully. Take a look at stocks like Ford. Now, Ford has been pretty ugly here for some time. And this little bump back up rally in here looks like it could be failing. I'd be watching Ford for a potential short to the downside. Watch that closely. Also seeing for the first time in a long time, a little bit of pullback coming in some of these aerospace defense stocks. Notice this breakdown here where we broke some support in the chart and we're consolidating. We run that risk that this could create the lower high. You can see this could be a little bit of a head and shoulders type pattern here in the chart. So watch that carefully if that were to slip and start falling in here. Certainly a possibility to be paying attention to. And then of course I've got to look at these retail. My goodness, even with the consumer showing so much weakness, we are really pushing the stocks like Costco continuing to move up. Any rest pullback would set up the next opportunity in Costco. You could see the same thing in like TJ Maxx. Nice little resting pattern that popped on through, now starting to rest back again. Look for the next opportunity there. Ross Stores made that incredible pop the other day out of this nice little resting pattern here. A lot going on in that retail sector, so keep an eye on some of those stocks as well. Unfortunately, with the issues and problems and congressional investigations and things like that going on, Boeing continuing to show weakness here, pulling back. I would suspect that opportunity that we could come back into this area of support. I was watching this to see if this could continue to hold that trend, hold a higher low for a possible entry, but right now not so much there on Boeing. Feeling pretty sick overall, and Caterpillar continues to be pretty sick. Although we bounced up sharply here this morning trying to gap up, you can see we've already got this resistance coming into play, possibly in the pre-market, showing that next opportunity for a short there in Caterpillar. So watch those areas close. So with that, everyone, I've run this video a little bit too long. I want to wish you all a fantastic day. I want to wish you great results in your trading. And as always, I want to wish you all the very best. Now remember, I won't be around tomorrow for a morning prep video, so I'm also going to wish you a wonderful weekend. Y'all take care, be safe. See you back here bright and early Monday morning. Have a great one, everyone.